Hey guys, welcome to section 2, chapter 6 of the Algebra 1 program entitled Slope-Intercept Form. So this is very classic and iconic algebra, what you're going to learn today. We're going to hang out here for a couple of days just to try to solidify these points, but this is something you're going to use 1,000 times from here on out in your algebra career. Okay, I'm going to introduce you to a new form of function. And it's y equals mx plus b. Because the only thing that makes algebra more complicated than just having a y and an x is throwing in two more letters like m and b. But I promise you it's not going to be too bad. Okay, so if we have a function that looks like this, the m stands for our slope. So last section we talked about slope and how to find it, right? And it was the rate of change of a given function. And so m is going to represent our slope in a function that looks like this in this form. And b is going to stand for our y-intercept. Now remember, intercept is where the function crosses the axis. So like, remember, this is your x and this is your y. So when we have a function that crosses at this point on the y, that's called your y-intercept. And wherever it crosses on the x, that's considered your x-intercept. It's where it intercepts those axes. So, for example, if I had a function that was y equals 3x plus 1, I could figure out what my slope and my y-intercept is just by looking at the function, right? So this is my m, which stands for my slope. And this is my b, which stands for my y-intercept. So my slope is 3, my y-intercept is 1. You're going to see how this all plays out here at the end of the video when we go to graph it. But right now, I just want you to start identifying where the slope is and where the y-axis is. Okay, similarly, if I had y equals negative a half x plus 2, my slope is negative a half. And 2 is my y-intercept, okay? The first part of this assignment is simply like just identifying this. One more, y equals 4/3 x minus 4, slope, y-intercept. Now make sure that you take that negative with you. So if there's a negative beforehand, that stays with the term, so don't lose it. So in this case, the slope is a negative 1/2. And in this case, the y-intercept is negative 4. So be attentive to those negatives. You don't want to lose them. Okay, and then the next part is they're going to go backwards. They're going to give you an m, like m equals 2 and b equals 3. And then you have to write the function. Okay, so remember, everything is going to look like y equals mx plus b for us. Okay, so we just have to plug in appropriately. So y is going to be 2x plus 3. Okay, that's what they're looking for there. And if m equals negative 4 and b equals negative 1, then y equals negative 4x minus 1. Notice the negative there. Make sure you bring that along for the ride. Okay, one more for you. M equals negative a half and b equals 0. What do you do then? Y equals negative 1/2 x. Now you could put 0 to start, but I want us to get to a place where we don't have to add plus 0. That your answer is simply negative 1/2 x. Okay? We understood if there's nothing out there that that's 0. Easy so far, right? All right, now what happens if you're looking at a graph? So here they want us to write the slope-intercept form of the equation for this line. So everything in this form, y equals mx plus b, is a line. So remember, we need the slope here and the y-intercept in order to be able to write this, right? So we can use what we learned last section to find the slope. Remember, we could use change of y over change of x. Okay, we could identify these points. This is going to be 0, 3. This is negative 4, 0. And you could write that out correctly, like 3 minus 0 over 0 minus a minus 4. I'm going to assume you did well on that section and not step your way through it here, which would be 3 over 4. Or, remember we talked about how you could count. You could find the slope by using rise over run. Ooh. So if you started at this guy, 1, 2, 3, and then you run to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we know it was positive. That would be another way you could do it. And then in order to identify the y-intercept, for all of these, they make it really easy. Simply look at the point through which the function crosses the y-axis. So the y-axis is always this one going up and down, right? Where does this thing cross? It crosses at 3. And now you have all the information you need to write the function. Y equals your slope. Remember we found it in 2 different ways. 3/4 x. And then I took from my graph plus 3. And this makes sense. Again, I want you to start like reasoning through what you're doing here. Our graph is going up like this. And remember that was a positive correlation and a positive slope. And we got a positive slope. So that makes sense, right? All right. Let's do another one like that. So we need y equals mx plus b. We need the slope. And we need the y-intercept. All right, and maybe starting with the y-intercept is easier for you. Again, all we have to do is look. All these graphs are making it nice and easy for you. We're going to start off nice and slow. So my y-intercept is -4. And then I'm going to take the short way out since these points are right dead center on our numbers. And I'm going to do my rise over run, right? It's going to save me a little bit of time. 1, 2, 3, 4. I rise 4. Now remember this way I'm running left. So I'm going to get a negative here. I'm going to run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now my slope is negative because I'm running left. All right? And I have everything I need to put this together. So my slope I just found is -4/5 minus 4. Right? Your slope goes with the x, and your y-intercept goes over at the end. Don't lose your negatives. Okay, this is all climaxing with your ability. I'm going to take the functions that we used right at the beginning here to be able to take a function like this and to be able to graph it. Okay, when we're given the function in this form, we know the slope and the y-intercept. You always, when starting to graph, start with the y-intercept. Write this down somewhere, star it, highlight it, underline it twice, write it 3 times. I don't care. Always start with the y-intercept. I can't tell you how many students don't do that, and your problem is going to be wrong every time. So you've got to start with this number out at the end. It's easy. It's your given point, right? It's +1, so on the y-axis, that's my starting point. All right. Now, in order to generate your next set of points, in order to construct this line, we use our slope. And remember, slope is rise over run. And for us, the slope is 3. Well, I could write 3 over 1, and it doesn't change the value, and it helps me with my rise over run. So if you just have an integer, put that integer over 1 to help you accurately step correctly to find your next point. So now from my y-intercept, I'm going to rise 3. 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to run to the right 1. Why am I running to the right? Because this number is positive. If one of those numbers was negative, or there was a negative out front, we would run left. Okay? And then the cool thing with these functions is you can keep doing this point after point. So I've generated a new point. I could go again. The rate of change between this point and the next is up 3, 1, 2, 3, and over 1. Now, be very careful if you want to do this, but you can also run down. You can go over 1, 1, 2, 3. But if your point is not on the same line, then you have run the wrong direction, and we don't want that. I have enough points to generate a line, and that is the line of the function y equals 3x plus 1. Let's go again. The next one was y equals negative 1/2 x plus 2. This is why it's super important that you know that this is the slope, the m is the slope, and the b is the y-intercept, because all the time my students start at the wrong number. But because we need to start at the y-intercept, I'm going to graph him first, right here. Then I'm going to use my slope, which is rise over run, in order to generate my next point. So from my starting point at 2, I'm going to rise 1, and now I'm going to run to the left 2. Why am I running to the left? Because of that negative. Okay, I can generate your next one. Go up 1 and to the left 2. Up 1 over 2. Again, you can be careful, but you can go back the other way. Just make sure that you've reversed all of it and you're still in the same line here. Let's do one more, and then I think you guys will be good to go here. You're going to get lots of practice. Y equals mx plus b. Y equals 4/3 x minus 4. Always start with your y-intercept. Your y-intercept is negative 4. He's all the way down here. Then my slope, rise over run, is 4 over 3. So from this starting point, I go up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to run to the right 3. 1, 2, 3. Why am I running to the right? Because this is positive. And then I would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. And now I'm going to very carefully draw my line. Okay, couple of things to note. Use a straight edge when you're making these. Don't be lazy. So use a straight edge of some kind. If you actually still have a ruler somewhere in the house, that would be fantastic. But don't be sloppy on your work. I want clean, clear answers to these questions, and that involves straight lines. So use a ruler or the side of a book or something. I want to make sure that you do at least 3 points on the graph before you draw the line. So give me at least 3 points. So use a straight edge. Don't be lazy. 2, identify 3 points before connecting. All right, you guys, that's it. I want you to finish up your notes, read through the lesson, and begin your assignment.